I think what you talked about in that presence and attitude
episode,
like you've inspired me.
I appreciate it. Yeah, to be an asshole. Like,
I thought this is the look at me version of presence and attitude. That's what you talked about,
That's
right?
what I talked about, bringing out the best in you.
Yeah,
just knowing
is
your
this
audience.
the best in him? This is just devastating.
Welcome to Behind the Knowledge, a best hour podcast where we dive deep into the lives and stories of inspiring coaches from all walks of life. The two hosts of this show are me, Todd Barber, and my good friend and fellow coach, Todd Occhiuto. Each week, we'll sit down with the most amazing coaches we can find, uncovering their unique paths, the challenges they've faced, and passions that continue to drive them. Whether you're a seasoned coach, an aspiring one, or simply somebody who likes listening to stories of how people achieve the success that they have, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by the powerful stories and insights from the world of coaching. This is Behind the Knowledge. Let's jump in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Knowledge. We are here at the Mastermind again, unpacking the 6 criteria of what makes an effective coach. I'm joined by Mr. Todd Occhiuto, my wonderful co-host, and this time, the ever-lovely, ever-intelligent, ever-quick with her wit, Lindsay Andrew.
You can keep going.
Oh, well, I was going to keep going, but I didn't want to give you too big a head before we jump into this because I don't actually know what we're talking about. Todd, what are we doing?
That was a great intro.
You did that?
That was professional.
I know.
I think you did better than Todd could ever do.
100%. That's why he's here. That's why he's here.
That's my actual nickname. Better than Todd could ever do.
So one of the 6 criteria is demonstration. And Miss Lindsay Andrew is one of the better movers on staff. In fact, the only person that I know of on seminar staff that was assigned the demonstration role on the box for movement lectures when she was an intern.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
That's a true story.
Interesting.
My very first intro, I was a demo girl.
Intro? No sweat intro?
Yeah, my
no, you were sweating.
Yeah,
I
was sweating.
100%.
Sorry, intro, not intro. Sorry. Intern. My very first intern, I was demo girl.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good for you.
It was a lot of pressure.
Yeah, just a smidge. I mean, you were in front of everyone, and you've got all of them looking at you to do it perfectly because you're the example to everyone. Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome.
So tell me about how you get to that point. How, like, you move really, really well, and even at that time, the coaching wasn't what it is now. Like, I'm very confident that you give me somebody that has much body awareness, and I can get them in good positions and teach them how to be good at demonstration. But back then, not a lot of people were coaching really, really well to get into good positions. So was that just something that came natural with you because of your background? Was it something that you worked hard at?
What's my background?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, because I mean, you've never
drinking
been an athlete,
and
right?
dancing on top of bars. Is that what it is? Does that help with your overhead squat?
That's where it felt like you were going with it.
I was
like,
with your background.
confused.
What I could see you do. Never mind. I won't even go there. I won't even tell that story. We'll save that one. But you've got a background.
Okay.
We'll just put it that way.
Thank you. Everyone does.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I was fortunate to be in an environment where coaching was a thing that actually happened. So working on technique and mechanics, but really it just is a lot of practice and having eyes on me. I remember asking Zach at the time, I was like, can you watch this? Like, what am I doing? How can I improve this? And it was a lot of time spent with a piece of PVC. In the beginning, I had a really hard time not having a forward inclination in my torso and a push press. And I spent a ton of time on the wall in dip therapy to be able to know what it felt like, so have kinesthetic awareness to keep my torso vertical. And then squat therapy, tons of squat therapy on my own, slow, controlled reps. It was practice, lots of practice. I took it seriously.
What made you do that?
Because I wanted to do it right. I literally was like, I take pride in like what I'm doing, and if I'm setting the example, then I dang sure better do it the way that I'm asking other people to do it. Mm-hmm. So that requires practice. And to be quite fair to what you just said, I was like, I was not an athlete before I found CrossFit. So, those things didn't always come. I mean, do you guys know those blow up things in front of tire stores that like wave around? That is what I look like learning the push jerk. I don't know how we taught it back then, but it was devastating. And I therefore was a disaster.
Right.
But
And then she couldn't push jerk either.
That was good. Nice.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, not sure. Not sure. Anyways.
Well, so I think what's interesting is your desire to do it correctly came from, I guess, like a feeling of ineptitude in the movement. And I think that there's a lot of people who come into this who think that they're doing it well, and don't have the same I need to perfect what I'm doing here. So yours is interesting because it came from a place of like, I don't want to be doing it wrong. Like I really want to be doing this correctly. And very quickly that singled you out as somebody who did it really well, and you got to have opportunity outside that. I think what's fascinating is a lot of people just don't know how they move through space. And let's work this all back. Like, what is the value of demonstration? What are we talking about here? There's in the 6 criteria we have demonstration. That is generally referred to as how you move through space, what your body does in like positions, and knowing that is a form of self-awareness because you can see what you're doing or feel what you're doing. And a lot of people lack self-awareness as a human being, but also lack body awareness as moving through there. There is another side to demonstration, which is living the lifestyle, and we'll talk about that and practicing what you preach, kind of what you're going.
Yeah, we'll talk to somebody else about that.
Yeah, look at you,
dude. I'm
Todd,
crushing today. Is this good? What's going on?
Like, are we going to be able to use this?
This is the
like,
post presence and attitude. I think what you talked about in that presence and attitude episode, like you've inspired me.
I appreciate it. Yeah, to be an asshole. Like,
I thought this is the look at me version of presence and attitude. That's what you talked about,
That's
right?
what I talked about, bringing out the best in you.
Yeah,
just knowing
is
your
this
audience.
the best in him? It's just devastating.
The best I have to offer, I guess.
But anyway, so like going back to demonstration as an important factor, what makes it important is that if you can't do it well yourself, it's very hard to show people an example of what it looks like. So if you can do it well, it's much easier to be like, hey, check this out. This is what I want. This is what I want to see. And then people can copy that. So you had that inherently from just being terrified to do it wrong? Is that what it was? Or was it just like you had a lot of examples who did it right around you?
I had a lot of examples of doing it right. I think there was a desire because I understood the value of technique and the better my technique, not only for my demonstration, but also for my fitness in general and like performance and workouts. And at that period of my life, that was like, not that my performance isn't important now, but like, you know, competitive years, you're like, I need to do this right. But but also really the example to be able to be in a leadership position.
Totally.
I am the expert. Here's what I took a lot of pride in moving well. Like, that was like one of the strongest things that I had going into this. I didn't know how to teach or see correct. Like, here's what I do know. Here's what I can show you.
Yeah.
So
you know what's really interesting is I actually think that's gone away. I think for a lot of our community and a lot of like high level coaches, this pride in doing the movement well has gone away. And it's fascinating because I think that pride speaks volumes to your commitment to what you're doing. Because I do believe that, like, especially when you're committed to it as an athlete, like you see athletes who move well and you see athletes who don't move well. And you're like, why don't you move well? What is going on? And you can tell the type of person that they are, of like, they're not committed to the nuance of this. Like, they're not truly committed to being great or like to the larger building of all of this. And that transcends that athletic process into the coaching process. And so I think that was kind of interesting where it started. And I love that you brought that point up of is like, you really were committed to being a good athlete. And the best way to do that is to be virtuous with your movement. That makes everything else you do easier. And then that mentality transcends that into where you are as a coach.
It's just funny that like so many people, athletes especially, and this isn't necessarily coaches, but it's like how many people are afraid to change their position today because it feels different and they know their workout's going to be a little bit slower. They're going to be a little bit worse today. They're like, no, I won't do that. This is where I squat, right? When it's like, no, this is you're one step backwards. You're going to take 9 steps forward, but they're not willing to do that. So I think to your point of her being willing to do that was huge.
Yeah. It's like that removal of ego, like in the thing. It's like in order for me to be over there and get there the most efficient way, like, and actually excel, I need to do it right.
I think I understood really early on from the people that I was around that if I didn't do it right or strive to do the basics, the fundamentals very well, at some point I was going to plateau and I was going to have to break it down anyway. So why not just do it right and practice it right from the very beginning? Because that's going to be really frustrating down the line if I have to redo this thing.
Do you remember that old part of I think it was a technique lecture, where they talked about, they had the linear
tree,
thing and they had a little tree that grew off the little nubs? That was such a good visual representation of like, hey, this guy who's doing it really fast but really poor technique, they're eventually going to plateau in their ability to proceed. And they have to work back to the trunk and then go back up for it to be something meaningful. And that's really difficult. That visual, I think, sunk in my head was the same thing. That was actually the only reason I was ever able to compete against like bigger, tougher dudes, is like I had really good technique. And I was like, I'm using less energy than you. This is
going to give me a chance.
This is going to give me a chance.
It's interesting that you said that because, like, the open was always devastating for me because it was just, like, engine. But then, like, get me to regionals. Yeah. And when it's technical, bye.
Yeah. We'll have some fun.
Yeah.
Like, I can do this easier than you can.
That's right.
Are you a CrossFit coach who's feeling stuck in their development? You're not alone. Many coaches lack good guidance when it comes to how to develop as a coach. They either don't have strong examples they find themselves around, they may lack support from their gym owner, and they just feel unprepared going into their next credential. That's why we made the Knowledge Pro, to fill that gap. It's a mentorship program built for coaches like you. It uses the Knowledge Daily, our comprehensive video library, as well as extra content that we put directly into the Knowledge Pro on our live weekly calls twice a week to mentor you and get you to the next level of development. We've got progressions, we've got scales, we've got one-off tips and tricks, we've got full coached classes by level 4 coaches so you can see an example of what it means to do this job well. All of that will also be walked through each week on those live calls, so that you have a soundboard to bounce off of and a group of coaches looking to be better to help support you in your endeavors. Coaching isn't just knowing what to do, it's also knowing how to do it. And that takes 2 things. 1, an example, and 2, practice. Practice is on your end, you got to go out there and do it. We can help provide that example and the support with the Knowledge Pro. If you want to know more, click the link below and give the Knowledge Pro a shot. I look forward to seeing you on one of the next calls.
I've learned so many lessons demonstration-wise. I'm sure I've told these stories before, but I can think of so many different stories of this. Like at my level 1 being called into the middle, right? I remember I had played sports and had trained with trainers that had trained professional sports teams. So I'd done overhead squats, I'd squatted, I'd done this stuff. And I'm like, I think I want to do CrossFit, but I don't know if I need to pay for coaching because I know how to do this stuff. Went to my level 1. They're in the breakout group. They're like, all right, we're going to bring somebody in so you guys can work on your coaching eye. And they're like, we're going to bring in Todd. And I'm like, sweet. They're using me to show them what this looks like. Not why they're bringing me in.
Nailed it.
Right? Not why they're bringing me in. Once again, I'm like, oh, crap. Maybe I do need to work on this. And, like, I remember leaving that level 1 and going up and being like, yeah, Drew Thompson was the flow master, and asking him a question, I think, after the squats group and being like, you guys keep talking about technique, and I know it's important, but, like, what about for your members that just want to have a good time and sweat with their friends and just get a good workout in? What if they don't really care about having the world's perfect squat? And he's like, you need to motivate them and convince them that it's important.
Yeah.
And so that started to change my thought process on it and started working on that. But the other thing that really opened my eyes to how bad of a mover I was is when I went to my first internship, instead of putting me on the box to demonstrate like Lindsay did, I was partnered up with what's his name from Chicago? It was Rudy Tapala.
Oh, yeah.
And he had just blown out his tricep. So he'd had surgery, his arm's in this big old cast, and we're getting ready for the squats group. And he's like, hey, telling me what my role is going to be and what I'm going to do there. And I'm like, cool, yeah, I can help. I'll coach, whatever. And he's like, all right, so clearly you can see my arm. Demonstration-wise, I can do the air squat, but I'll probably use you for the front squat and the overhead squat. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. Cool, this is great. And he's like, awesome. Warm up, grab a PVC pipe, let me see some reps. I'm like, all right.
Can we give some detail about what your squat looks like?
Well, we'll talk about it in a
Okay.
second. But I get my PVC pipe, I get ready to roll. I'm like, hey, I'm ready. He's like, cool, let me see some front squats. He has me do one. He's like, all right, turn that way, do another one. All right, just like nods his head. He's like, all right, overhead squat. He sees that, and then he just goes, you know what, I just won't show it. And I'm like, come again, what? And that was the light bulb that went off that I was like, holy shit. Like, I move so bad that he's not even going to use me to show that in a breakout group, not on a box, in a breakout group. It must not be very good. And so that was it. And so where were you headed with this?
I was like, well, how far has that come in the process? Like, what is your people need an example of like what your squat, like what's going on with your torso? What's the tough part for you there?
Well, I mean, all of it, more than likely, but torso forward, like rounded back in the bottom of my squat, just everything tight, not being terribly great, and it hadn't worked on. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm probably better than most of my athletes here that do this, and I was coaching. I thought I was fine. But then that leads me to, like, I came across my old digital camera not too long ago, and I was like, ooh, I wonder what happens if I throw some batteries in there. Let me see what's on. Like, it's a camera, but you remember it could videotape, like, 90 seconds worth of
Maybe
video clips.
15,
yeah. And I was like, I wonder what's on here. And there was a part of me that was like, maybe there's something really cool.
Yeah, no, bummer.
Well, I turn it on, and it's me with a PVC pipe, just like reps
movement.
and reps
Gotcha.
and reps. Yeah, moving. Anyways, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's because after that internship, I left and was like, holy crap. And all I did was move with the PVC pipe. Every day I would do like 5 sets of 10 reps of each of those movements with the PVC pipe to get better there.
You were so embarrassed and shamed.
It was. And I also then thought, I was like, well, cool, I got hired on staff. They will never use me because I'm sure they've told everybody how shitty I'm at moving, so they won't use me. And then like first seminar, Todd's on the box for squats, and I remember calling Chuck and being like, hey, is it cool if I wear lifters? And he's like, definitely not. And I was
who
like,
wore lifters?
I was like, dang it.
You know who wore lifters?
Who's that?
Who used to demo in lifters.
Who?
And I was like, it happened, and I was like,
What?
And I'm like talking to him, I'm like, what is this? Can you guess?
Is
She
it?
signed $1 million contract with Reebok.
Oh, Rich?
No, she.
Oh.
Christmas.
Oh, did she really?
She wore lifters to demo squats, and I was like, hey, guys, is this okay? And, like, I had to, like, because I was not a flow at the time.
Maybe that's product placement.
Straight
Maybe that's
up,
what that
I
was.
was just like, dude, this isn't okay. Like, I love Christmas, but, like, maybe don't wear lifters during your thing. That's not okay. Like, if you need to do that, but I can show a better position because you're wearing lifters.
Yeah.
Like, our point is to not be able to, I mean, lifters are fine. I don't have anything against lifters. Not in this setting.
Not in the setting,
Like,
right? Exactly.
Anyway, but one thing I really want to kind of speak to with both of those, because we talked about demonstration being the movement, but also demonstrating the lifestyle and demonstrating the commitment. And what that speaks to with both of you is not just the commitment to get better at moving so you can demonstrate, but you're demonstrating the commitment it takes to do this program and the desire to improve in a way that's like, if it's not there, I want to get it there. And that is the fundamental concept behind what CrossFit is. It's like we're trying to improve across all aspects and face things that are difficult for us and make them easier for us and continue to face things that are difficult for us. And that's that demonstration of that you saw it and weren't just like, well, I have a hard time squatting, and then left it.
I've got a mobility issue.
Right.
Yeah,
I've got to
yes, that's what it is.
You just punt it straight to
whatever.
that. But you both, like,
That's just how I move.
Yep.
well, but and then what I want to highlight for other people out there is, like, you guys are both seminar staff members and coaching developers and speak to some of the highest quality level of coach in our space, and that is what that is about. It's about being like, how, like, what do I have going on that I can make better, and constantly pursuing that. And that's what great coaches do, and that's what part of that 6 criteria is. When you talk about demonstration, it's like people will take you much more seriously.
I was just gonna say that. I say that at level 2s to people that demo. I'm like, hey, I need you to take your demo seriously.
Totally.
It should be the best rep that you could possibly give your people. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you need to be great. It means you need to be working your ass off
That's right.
to be great.
Right.
And you need to be aware.
Yes.
You
For
need to know. It can't be like, hey, guys, remember when you squat, I need your chest up and your back flat. It looks like this. And then you do a good morning.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, all right, that must be chest up and back flat. And then you wonder why everybody in class has the good morning squat.
In that same vein, though, it is appropriate if you're working on something to be like, hey, guys, I know my overhead position looks like this. I'm really working on doing it like this. This is what I need from you. It humanizes you to your people, too. But it also shows that it's okay to have deficiencies. But it also shows the leadership, the culture that, like, I'm doing the thing and I'm still making progress.
Totally.
I'm striving for that.
Totally. And that, I don't know, I really don't want anyone to hear, like, if I don't move well, I shouldn't coach. Like, it's never about that.
No.
It's like, if you don't move well for 10 years of coaching, you should get off your ass and start moving well.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, like, what can people do? Like, where should they start? Hey, somebody's here, they're coaching. They think they move well, maybe like I did. Do they know? How are they going to know? What do they need to do?
film yourself. Film
Right there,
yourself.
we've got a lesson in coach development that is on demonstration, and it also is 2-part, as in a scene drill. And it's like film your movement, and then start walking through those static positions, stance, grip, and body position, and then points of performance. How are you doing with that? Because if you don't have awareness, and it's funny how many people videotape their workouts, but don't know how they move. And I'm like, what? I don't get it.
I love that homework because they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I moved like that. I was like, well, when's the last time you saw yourself move? You know, there's not like a mirror in the gym to look at, you know?
Yeah, that's one part of it. And then there's another one where they're like, they videotape themselves, and it's like, it looks pretty good. My elbows are down a little bit, but I think, that's it. But it's a mobility. And then you're like, not only should you videotape yourself, look at it yourself to work on your scene and correcting, but find somebody else and ask them to look at it as well for those same things, because I think there's some things that people miss, and it's because they don't know what to look for or aren't sure what those positions are supposed to look like.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think that this subject at the level 2 is often spoken about relatively quickly. It's like, move well, please. And also, when you're showing something, make sure you know what you're showing. Because that's the context of it in its like daily interaction with like doing visual faults. Like, you look like this, look like this. But I think this is such a big concept, like how deep it goes, of all the little pieces that make up, like, gyms that have leaders, coaches, who embody everything that we're talking about right here, who the pursuit of excellence through every little action that they do, that being their movement, that being all the other pieces, people who demonstrate what it means to be good to other people, what it means to have fun, what it means to, like, in the workout, pursue virtuosity over pursuing a time, like that demonstration, all of that, these are the successful gyms. Like, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a gym that has a leader who acts like that is not successful. Like, even business practice aside, like, that would be another form of pursuing virtuosity. But I think that those things, like, that is truly the demonstration that impacts the community more so than almost anything else. Like the cueing and the coaching, yes, it's really important. The seeing and correcting, yes, it's really important. Group management is really important. But, like, that demonstration piece is huge because you're being a good person and you're working really hard to do so for the people around you.
I mean, if leadership doesn't take it seriously, why would anybody else?
Yeah, and to your point, like, it transcends and goes so much farther than the demonstration that you're using when you're teaching, using the tell, show, do, check teaching process, right? You got to show the step of the progression or the movement or any of that kind of stuff, but you've got to be a good person. Yeah. You got to be the person in class that actually scales the workout to hit the stimulus, or scales the workout to use the weight that allows you to move well. And, like, oh, by the way, you wonder why none of your athletes are concerned with hitting depth in their wall ball squat or wall ball shots. Well, it's probably because they watch you and you've not got your hips below your knees once.
I think one that grinds my gears is that, like, when they're in classes, are they coachable? Like, if you're not coachable, why would anybody? That's like, like, you're not receiving feedback.
How many times at level 2s do you get the, like, hey, nobody in my gym will listen to me, or nobody's coachable? What do I do with those people? And then you get to the day 2 workout and you're like, lift your chest, and they go, nah, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I've literally seen that happen to other coaches on the floor, and, like, almost lost my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. Like, be the person, be the athlete that you want to be. Like, be the demonstration that you want for everybody in gym. Be the athlete when you're taking classes. Be the coach that works on the movement and is aware of that. So, like we said before, like, videotape your movement, take a look at it, show it to somebody else, reach out to us, get some feedback. That's going to go a long way, and spend time working on that, because these movements, you can never stop getting better at any of these movements, by the way.
I need to do better in classes that I'm taking from my coaches. Here's how. You just said that, you're like, be the athlete that you want to see on the floor. I never pay attention to the general warm up. I need to start doing that. I need to be a better demonstrator. Wow. Okay.
Demonstration is
coaches
about
at Rife.
Reflection.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting right now.
And awareness.
It's the first
step.
step.
Whether it be of your being.
Every other step, general warm up, I'm distracted.
But it's a constant piece of growth, and there's always times where we can deviate, and then we come back to it, and then we go in there. But you're right, it's very hard to take people seriously who don't take it seriously.
Don't do it. Yeah. So it's demonstration. Like, move well, know what your movement looks like, videotape it, take a look at it, get some feedback there, and then Lead from the front.
Yeah.
Be the example. Do it.
Yeah.
That's where we're headed with this thing. That's what we got to do.
I like it. Demonstration.
Thanks,
You
Linz.
started that
Yeah.
like really mean, and you finished it quite nice.
Yeah, it was good.
What's another zinger I can give to her? I don't have any more.
Please. Oh,
Now I'm
thank
on
God.
the spot.
I've got a few.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
And we're done.
And time.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Behind the Knowledge. Now, if you want help developing your coaching and to learn from us directly, check out the Knowledge Pro. There we host live calls with our coaches every week where we discuss content together and work on skills to improve our on-the-floor coaching ability. To learn more, you can head over to besthouroftheirday.com/the knowledge. And if you found this content helpful, we're going to be releasing new episodes every week, so subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.